Shalom. Call halal Yahweh by Shem Shai by Shem Rakak Wadash. Double honors into the apostles and the elders. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners, and to the Akwath that are listening and learning. To you I say Shalom. And for those of you who are new, those Israelite foreigners are our people that are scattered among the heathen nations that look like the heathens. For example, even like a guy that's on the screen. All right, not this dude is clearly an Edomite through his spirit, but what I'm trying to explain to you is that our people got scattered among all people. So some of our people are actually going to look like him. So this isn't a black or white thing. This is an Israelite thing. You know, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, likes to he created all these false narratives, titles, identify people by color, and whatever names he prescribes to control and cover up the narrative, so that he can control the narrative. I also want to declare the Information Act, Freedom of Information Act. You know, I do not own this footage. I'm not profiting for this footage. I'm only using it for educational, informational, and commentary. But before I play just a bit of this, we're going to talk about Boz Reeves, who the character of the Lone Ranger, which was played by a so-called white man in the 1950s or early 60s, I forget. Boz Reeves was a so-called black man. All right, and Esau Edom throughout history since the Renaissance, since the rebirth, which was the rebirth of Esau Edom. All right, he came back into power. He got dominion again after being on the bottom for 1,000 years during the Dark Ages. So all that history in those movies that you watch during the Dark Ages, the Vikings and the Brits and the Irish and the Scots, those were not white people. All right, they didn't come back into power until the 1500s. And then those places became white. So when you watch Robert the Bruce and you watch all those famous Viking shows, those were all people of color. None of them were so-called white. And if they were pale in flesh, that's because they had Negro forefathers. Point blank, period. That is just a brutal truth, as we're going to prove that when it comes down to the original cowboys. And this history right here, that the average racist, right-wing American does not know or ignores, because it does not fit their false narrative. As a matter of fact, this is Job 13:4, and it reads, "But ye are forgers of lies, ye are all physicians of no value." And one of my favorites is Deuteronomy 33:29, and it reads, "Happy art thou, O Israel, who is like unto thee, O people saved by Yahweh." That's the only people being saved, by the way. "The shield of thy help, and who is the sword of thy excellency." So Esau was given a great sword, and he's used it very well to conquer, kill, rape, rob, and murder, and take over everything, and fabricate history, and make and set up institutions that's in favor in his behalf. But his blessing of the sword is nothing to Yahweh, which is the sword of our excellency, who's about to flash their sword and take these people down. Their kingdom is falling literally before your eyes. "The shield of thy help, and who is the sword of thy excellency, and thy enemies shall be found liars unto thee, and thou shalt tread upon their high places." So by me doing videos like this is treading upon their high places, their pride, their arrogance, and their lies, because Esau is fine with the lie being taught, as he marches proudly to the beat of the drum of a lie. All right, they're very proud behind their lies. Salakia had a pretty nasty sinus infection, which turned into a head cold. So Salakia, it's like the common cold has completely disappeared with this other thing now. Like people been getting colds for a couple hundred years since the Edomites came over here, and now all of a sudden no one's getting colds again. But that's a whole different lesson. But without any further ado, let's just let him give a little bit of this history about Boz Reeves, and then I'm gonna play a video on my phone that's just a couple seconds long about what another Edomite is giving the history on the true cowboys, who the real cowboys are. All right.
Time around the late 1870s, somewhere in the Western District of Arkansas. The West can't get any wilder than it is here. You are on the run from the law, and you've got a sentence hanging over your head issued by none other than the infamous federal judge Isaac Parker, known as the Hanging Judge. He has dispatched his most effective and relentless enforcer to bring you back to justice, a lawman so feared and respected that he haunts criminals in their nightmares. How would you picture him in your head? Well, you're probably thinking about your typical cowboy, complete with Stetson hat, a six-shooter, and a star-shaped badge popularized by Hollywood. Tall like Gary Cooper, strong like John Wayne, rugged like Clint Eastwood, and full of grit like Jeff Bridges. Well, you got it all right, except for one detail. Your nemesis is a freed former African-American slave, Bass Reeves.
And so that's even when Esau tells you the truth, he tells you to lie. The evidence that and then how they could straight face still tell that lie, knowing that the people who came over here prior to the slave trade and then during the slave trade were indeed Israelites. They were not African at all. They were refugees in Africa, which is why they were chosen. All right. And the evidence of that is just beyond overwhelming. Yet these people have so much hate and disrespect for you, they refuse to call you what you are. The slave records themselves tell you that these people were Hebrew. Even the names on the ships, matter of fact, the ships were owned by Jewish slave owners, the ships that were bringing them here. And when you look at the manifest, they all had Hebrew and Muslim names, all right? Because a lot of the Moors got caught up in that, but Moors were still Israelites. They were just Israelites who had adopted Islam as their religion, but they were still Israelites according to the flesh. All right. This is a quick video off TikTok that I'm just gonna play. You don't really need to see it. You can just hear it. Let me just pull it up. Yeah, that's it. And he's also gonna speak on Boz Reeves, the same character, which the Lone Ranger. Matter of fact, let me click on. I have an image of Boz Reeves. If it will just pop up.
Learn Spanish with Real Spanish TV.
Damn commercial. All I want is the image.
Click on words in the subtitle.
It's a cold autumn night sometime around the late 1870s, somewhere in the Western District of Arkansas.
Let's see.
The West can't get...
There we go.
The Emancipation Declaration was issued after joining. It's a cold autumn night sometime around the... his working relationship
This
with
thing,
the...
there we go. There's Boz. All right. The actual man who was the Lone Ranger. All right. That was your rugged, feared lawman that they all were extremely afraid of. He was a U.S. Marshal, battle-hardened lawman. Okay. That's his actual image. It's very far from the image of the Lone Ranger, which Hollywood put forth. Same thing when it comes to the Vikings and the Spartans. You know, the movie Troy. And that's one of my favorite ones to go in on because Esau's really proud of that lie. Ajax, Hector, Achilles, none of them were white. Stop playing. All right. Alexander of Macedon conquered that land a couple hundred years after that battle. Okay. And then it became white. And I have the proof and the evidence to prove that, and I've shown it many a times. But that's another lesson for another time. But let me find this video. And let's let this Edomite
There's seriously nothing cooler than black cowboys. Big facts. Black cowboys have always been around.
It's so true. Check this out. That was Lethal Lex. She's an amazing person and the actual founder of the BLM Utah chapter. Go check her out. Now, when a person sees a black cowboy and they think that idea doesn't make sense because all we've ever seen are white cowboys, you would be 100% factually wrong. The very first cowboys were black, beginning with the actual term. White men who worked a ranch were called cowhands. Black men who worked a ranch were called cowboy. Yes, the actual term is stooped in racism. You're seeing a John Wayne or a Clint Eastwood. What you're actually seeing is a very poor imitation of a famous black cowboy. His name was Nat Love, better known as Deadwood Dick, who was ridiculously talented in all things cowboy. From Bill Pickett, who invented the sport of bulldogging. Ass Reeves, who was the actual real Lone Ranger. Hannah July, who was so talented at taming wild horses, the U.S. Army actually hired her. There is no such thing as a cowboy as we know it without black people. Black history is American history, plain and simple.
There you go. So a lot of history has been covered up and changed, and we live in a time and age where the truth is coming out. All right? Just like the truth about Boz's true race. He is an Israelite. Those cowboys was an Israelite. The Mrs. July was a Gadite. You know, the one who was so good at taming horses that they hired her. All right? And they were all people of color, all copper-colored people, which is what they were referred to. Because if you put a penny against the hand of a so-called native and against the hand of a so-called Negro, they both were copper-colored. All right? So this whole black and all this other stuff, like I said, those were social constructs, false narratives that were pushed by the so-called white man, who is Esau Edom. Let me grab one more scripture, close this out.
Nothing cooler than
In that second Ezra, this scripture can't come out enough because this is the time and age we're living in. The truth is coming out, and they call it CRT, critical race theory. Well, this isn't a theory. These are facts that you covered up and try to hide. Okay? In order to control the narrative. Damn Edomite pieces of shit. This is 2nd Ezra 6 in verse 27. And it reads, "For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which have been so long without fruit, shall be declared." And the truth is being declared. Call Halal Yahweh Shema Shai Ba Shem Wakakwadash Wa Abba Babal.